Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here as always with Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast and Devin Circus, and this is the Week 15 preview show. Come on, who day? This is
Another
hey, we're coming.
w-
Go ahead. What are you gonna say? Well, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, Jake, because you do some amazing podcasts, and I'm sure you have a pick for us at the end. The
I
the,
do,
the
I do.
Dallas pick was never in doubt. I pounded that. I pounded that, and I pounded it second half too. So,
Did you, did you tease it to +3?
yes, never ever worried. So,
Oh God.
never worried. Never in doubt.
Never worry, he said.
Not in that
Yeah,
one.
where's my
Oh,
pen? I got to write that down.
no, the Eagles
Never
never
worry.
concerned. The Eagles never showed us anything in that game. You know,
The
they
Eagles stink.
they made two trips down into the red zone and got field goals both times when the Cowboys got touchdowns, and that was it. It was the game was over, you know. So, but so I'm sure Jake will have. So tell them where they can find your stuff.
Yep, Jake Circus podcast, YouTube and Spotify. No pod this week. Packing, driving home, but we'll be back. And yeah,
There you go. Dad's excited. So
My boy.
there you go. So, before I forget, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. The show's by fans, for fans. We don't sell you anything. We don't ask for anything. All we ask is that you support the channel. So subscribe, hit the bell so you get the alerts when we do our previews and our recaps right afterwards. And please hit the thumbs up. Helps us out with the YouTube analytics. So, well, I like where we are. This game looks a lot different than it did a while ago. I was hoping I could say, hey, we get to face Josh Dobbs for the second time this season on two different teams. And I was going to ask Jake when the last time that happens, because usually you're playing an NFC team, right? You only see him once, but to see the same quarterback twice, and then he goes ahead and gets benched this week. So
Mark, I got to jump in with one thing before we get
sure,
going.
go ahead.
And I apologize. I have not had a chance to listen to the recap that I unfortunately wasn't able to be a part of on Sunday, but I got to take a victory lap on my man Tanner Hudson scoring his first NFL touchdown.
Oh, and Chase Brown. I mean, it
No,
was
no, 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 no.
oh, not
My man
Tanner Hudson.
Tanner Hudson.
Yeah.
I was on him before anybody even knew the name.
Yes.
I was on him in training camp.
And now on the fantasy sheets, he gets a mention because they were saying the one I was reading today was talking about how he's really carved out a really nice spot on this team. He has in terms of from a fantasy perspective. If you're looking for help, he's there. He's getting, 4 or 5 catches a week. Hopefully that's the first of many touchdowns. So
Between Tanner Hudson and Shohei Ohtani, I'm a happy man. So let's talk football.
there you go. So yeah, that's why you mentioned Ohtani. What's interesting, and then we're going to get right back into this. That the only taking $2 million a year and deferring everything to the end tells me, is he making that much endorsement money that he doesn't need a nickel?
He makes over $50 million a year.
There you go. So if somebody said to me, is this a scam? And I go, no, he's using the Dodgers as his tax planning. Is what he's doing. He's deferring when he might not have the same amount of income down the road. So
yeah, I think what I saw is, and obviously it's a little bit it's scaled because when you do NFL and NBA, it's uncomparable to MLB in terms of like advertising just because of the size of the sports. But I think that Shohei's off the field money, endorsements, commercials, all that shit, is only comparable to Steph and LeBron in America. In America. Yeah, in America.
I got to think he's on par with the Messis and the Ronaldos.
Yeah, I mean he probably is, but I think it's just Steph and LeBron, and maybe if you still count Brady, which
that's just domestically, because international he'll blow that out of the water.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
And you see it when you go to the games. I mean, when you went to a game that just Chan Ho Park pitched, whether on the Dodgers, there was a huge Asian presence at the game. I mean, they come out and support. So it's got to be internationally. He's got to be huge.
The name Chan Ho Park still stings, Mark, because he was on my fantasy roster the night he gave up 2 grand slams to Tatis in 1 inning.
So, well, I actually have a couple baseballs that he signed, team balls that I've circulated because he was a
Nice.
Philly reliever too. So, so I have I have good feelings about him. So, if
I
not
always
fantasy football, baseball, to feel bad about.
I
So,
always just one more quick thing. I always did think it was kind of interesting that him to the Blue Jays was getting just an abnormal amount of steam. He was never leaving the West Coast. That was no
right.
like
Oh, yeah. The Ohtani, yeah.
It was
Oh,
Dodgers Giants all the way.
yeah. So, I agree. So, all right, well, let's
I
jump in
wouldn't want to
and
live in
talk.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is
No,
a
that's why he
mess.
didn't.
that would have
Apparently,
been
he can't.
Dodger fans' nightmares if for people who aren't, I'm Los Angeles. Yeah, there is no more hated team in Los Angeles than the San Francisco Giants. So, but all right, well, let's talk football. I'm
Let's
feeling
go.
really good. I only have a couple negative things that I'm feeling bad about, but I'm feeling really good coming into this week. I'm going to continue to wear this jersey, so don't get down on me for not breaking out because I've got like 50 jerseys, but they've scored 34 points and I've worn this jersey the last 2 weeks. So I'm not changing jerseys and until something happens. So I'll go with the Burrow second year jersey and it's that simple. So
I like it.
yeah. So, but Hawkinson concerns me because he seems to be the most reliable guy on their offense. And then they do have a very formidable run defense. I mean, they're fifth in the league, but other than that, there's not a whole lot on this team that I'm concerned about going into this game. So,
Yeah, their defense. It's you still think of the Minnesota Vikings as the team that wins games 34-31. I mean,
yeah,
certainly game Sunday was
three
what much
nothing.
like that with 3-0.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to steal Jake's thunder because I know he's got a lot of thoughts on the defense and the man that leads the defense, and I'm sure he's going to talk about that. So I'll let him do that. But no, they play good defense. TJ Hawkinson is absolutely scary as hell this weekend. I've said it several weekends in a row that the Bengals are historically, notoriously, and this year dreadful against the tight end. I play the opposing tight end every week in DFS. TJ Hawkinson's already in my lineup. But look, other than that, there's not a lot there's not a lot of other weapons that scare me. They're starting running back Madison, who's really not that good to begin with, is
No, he's
out.
very ordinary.
Yeah, Tyson Chandler's playing okay. Nick Mullins, who's absolutely dreadful, is at quarterback. Jefferson's back. We talked about it. Three of us talked about it briefly before we went on the air. This is not your 2021, 2022 Justin Jefferson.
No.
Still Justin Jefferson. He's going to draw coverage. He's going to make the defense scheme. It seems like he's going to come in a little banged up, but yeah, I'm with you, Mark. This game certainly favors the Bengals the way we've played the last two games, and it's just a matter of coming out and executing. And Browning continuing to do what Browning does. The coach is continuing to work to create the right schemes and the right plays and the right game plan that work for him, and the defense to continue to figure things out, which they've done the last several weeks.
Yeah. Well, and this team is and then Jake can take over and give us some of his defensive numbers. But this team is very ordinary against the pass. So, I mean, I think that's something we got to try to exploit this week.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jamar's a
Yeah,
little banged up. That concerns me a little bit. He's banged up. I think it was an ankle.
yeah, it's an ankle. He
got
was limited practice today. So,
Yep. We'll
I
see
got
tomorrow. He didn't practice yesterday, which is probably just a rest. Or Tuesday was probably the typical Wednesday since the game is Saturday. Limited today. I'm assuming he'll be pretty close to full tomorrow. I'm assuming he's going to play. Our injury report looks good. Looks like DJ Turner and Boyd were also limited. Not too concerned with anything there. I think we'll be full board except for obviously CTB, who's on the IR.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you got, Jake?
yeah. First thoughts when looking at the matchup, was the first bet I made on Sunday night was the under in this game at 40. It's right around there. I think both defenses match up really well with the lack of offense that we're going to see. I really think there's going to be a lack of offense. I know you had the over last week. I had the under. I think without
Yeah,
the
but I
pick
don't.
six
I'm
before
not on the
halftime.
over this week. I'm not on the over this week.
Okay,
Because I do
no,
think this is a week where we kind of pull back and we don't hit the 30 figure. I think, you get into the low 20s, 24 might win this game for us. So, I really,
yeah,
so I'm definitely with you on that. I'll probably tease the under is what I'll do. So
yeah. I mean, well, like the under, it was kind of worrisome. And then the pick six happened before halftime. There was 14 points in 2.5 minutes. Kind of fucked it away, even with the Colts not scoring a single point in the second half. So I mean, if that pick six didn't happen, like the under hit, but like again, it doesn't really matter. Anyways,
that could have been 14-0 at halftime if the Hendricks
yeah,
penalty doesn't happen.
yeah, no, exactly. The Bengals defense did exactly what I figured they were going to do against a team that just does not have much on offense, and that's exactly what the Vikings do. I mean, their quarterback's worse. Yeah, they have Justin Jefferson, but I mean, the Colts have Michael Pittman. I mean, I get like obviously Jefferson is one of the, if not the best in the league, but um, they're heavily reliant on one player on offense. Their offense has taken a huge step back since he's been hurt. He came back last week, then got hurt again. Now how healthy is he really for this game? And then again, same thing last week with the DCs. We're getting an even better defensive coordinator matchup. I think Brian Flores is like, if there was a Broyles Award in NFL, which is the best assistant coach, it would go to Brian Flores probably unanimously. He has turned this Vikings defense. I said it all year last year. I mean, they were literally a high school defense last year. The Lions were on pace to have the worst defense of all time through 12 weeks. The Vikings defense finished worse than the Lions defense in yards per game, yards per attempt, penalty yardage, everything. Vikings were the worst defense maybe in the last 5 years last year. This year, they're fourth in EPA per play on defense. It's been the biggest turnaround, and it's why they're 7-6. Because when you lose a guy like Kirk, and Vikings fans know how important Kirk Cousins is, I know we all make fun of him, but when you lose a guy like Kirk Cousins, who statistically has been one of the more important players in the NFL the last 3 years, but when you factor in volume and and the fact that he does throw the ball down the field a lot, he's very important to them, and he's been gone the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've been frisky, and the Dobbs had his Hollywood Jeremy Lin sanity run for 3 weeks, and kind of turned into a little bit of a Ponzi scheme. And now it's obviously he got himself benched, and now we're on Nick Mullins, who, good Lord, I mean, what can we really expect from him? Like, we'll see. Maybe it's one of those games where, like the Jake Browning effect in Jacksonville, where he has his best career game. And Nick Mullins was not good with Kyle Shanahan. Is he really going to be good with this Vikings team? Probably not. But yeah, so I think both defenses are going to eat. The Vikings offensive line is terrible. Well, actually, I'm going to rephrase that. They were terrible last year. They're better this year. They're younger, more athletic this year, but they still have some holes that the Bengals have a couple of good pass rushers that can get to the quarterback, and Nick Mullins isn't really doing anything spectacular with his legs like Josh Dobbs normally did when they were in trouble. So I love the defenses in this game.
Jake,
if we had 100%. Go ahead.
I was going to say they have 2 linemen that didn't practice at all this week. I don't know if their starters are any good. I don't recognize the names. Brian O'Neill and Chris Reed, and Dalton Risner was limited both days. Are those guys regulars?
O'Neill has been the right tackle for a very long time. Who are the other names?
Chris Reed, a guard, and Dalton Risner, another guard. I recognize the Risner.
Yeah, Dalton Risner. Yeah, he's been their starting left guard. Reed has not played this year.
Okay.
If he's an offensive lineman.
Anyways, it's just illness anyway.
Yeah. So O'Neill's their starting right tackle. Reisner's their starting left guard. O'Neill has been their second best lineman this year outside of Christian Darrisaw, their first round pick a couple of years ago. So yeah, I mean that's a big deal because the backup for O'Neill is oh my God, David Cussenberry. Jesus. Yeah. If O'Neill doesn't no, it's not the Cushenberry you're thinking of, not the guy from LSU from a couple years ago.
Oh, that was Lloyd. Speaking of our conversation from the other night.
Yeah, it's a different Cushenberry.
Okay.
He's an older veteran guy. But yeah, O'Neill's very good. If he doesn't play, that's advantage Bengals. Same thing with Reisner. He's not great, but he's their starting left guard.
Yeah. Well, if we had a healthy Jefferson, you could say, well, Mullins is they're going to try to, just send him down the field to try to hit a couple deep ones. Madison does have a burst. I mean, he's not an incapable running back. He has had his moments where he's looked good, especially hitting the holes, but he's not 100%. We don't even know if we're going to see him. He hasn't practiced either.
He's not going to play.
Yeah, so
Madison's not
said,
gonna play.
Mullins is, unless they somehow come up with a game plan and he is just, plays out of this world, and way above his abilities. I'm not that concerned about this offense. I'm really not. Hawkinson's
Yeah.
the only thing.
Ty Chandler's
One
not
guy,
a
I'm
bad
gonna be
running back,
pissed.
by the way.
What's that?
Chandler
not
might
a bad
be
running back.
Chandler might be better than Madison
Correct.
if he gets some more volume.
Yeah. But I'm going to be really upset if we can't come up with a defensive scheme to say, okay, we're taking Hawkinson out, somebody else.
Yeah, no, Mullins isn't going to beat them.
You got to have a way to do that.
No, Mullins isn't going to beat them by themselves. I thought, like, we talked about the turnovers for Gardner Minshew. Did we turn him over at all in that game?
Trying to remember. I don't.
The BJ interception, which was a fluke play.
Yeah, the tip ball where BJ jumped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one.
Minshew's done a couple like that this year. Yeah, I think that was the only turnover, but like Minshew is a lot better than Nick Mullins, and he's better than Josh Dobbs. And he didn't really seem comfortable. Bengals were getting some pass rush against a fine Colts offensive line, pretty solid. So like Nick Mullins is not going to beat them. But I also have my own doubts about the Bengals scoring points in this game. I mean, you have to give respect to this Vikings defense, which is funny because a year ago I was like calling them just, oh my God, they were awful. I gave up 34 points to Daniel Jones in a playoff game at home. This team literally a year ago, without Brian Flores, by the way, they gave up 34 points to Daniel Jones. The same Giants roster, by the way, outside of the quarterback that we're seeing this year. Yeah, and it's been a complete 180. It's been the most impressive turnaround, I think, in the league, outside of maybe Houston.
Right.
And I give you credit, dude. You called this in August or July when they hired him, and the defense has been very good.
Yeah. I was like, even going deeper, I was very defensive, if that's the right word, when they fired Flores, and now the Dolphins fired Flores, and now looking at the Mike McDaniel thing, it's a very different feel. And I remember saying on my pod after week 3 when the Dolphins were like, okay, they're good. I'm not going to say they're a Super Bowl team, but they're good. I'm like, this is why they fired Brian Flores, for this to happen. It worked. This is exactly why they fired him. But Brian Flores, he was a linebackers coach for Pittsburgh, I think, last year. He was never going to be at the bottom of the league for the rest of his career. I mean, he's one of the most talented defensive minds out there. Like, he'll probably get another head coaching job. We see these bozos out here every year. He's going to get another job. Right. I don't know if he's going to be good, but like, he's a very, very good defensive mind. Same thing with Jim Schwartz. Like, Jim Schwartz wasn't going to be wherever for the rest of his career. Now he's killing it with Cleveland. Same thing. I guess the Browns defense was good last year, but now they're the best in the league.
Yeah. The only reason Flores would have been kept down is if it was a league-wide kind of mandate blackballed for what plays in Miami. But they're letting him do his thing, and he's a great coach, and he's done a phenomenal job with the Minnesota defense.
No, and he was shown the door because Ross wanted Burrow. It's just that simple. I mean, that's why he was shown the door. So, yeah, I don't see. I see Flores.
Oh, you're saying because they won the game against us?
Yeah, yes, that was
because they weren't okay. Yeah, no, the Dolphins like never were actually tanking. I mean, I don't think the Bengals were either. But like the Dolphins that year were never.
Neither team was taking, but Ross wanted Burrow.
He wanted him
when they weren't in the number 1 position. Right. That he was not happy, and that's why
we talked about this, and we touched on it a couple of weeks ago when Burrow got hurt. Tanking in the NFL is a fan thing. It's a Twitter thing.
Oh, yeah.
The lifespan of an NFL player is too short. The lifespan of an NFL coach, of an NFL head coach, the tolerance of ownership and general managers is way too short. There's not a single player or coach that could tank for a draft pick. It doesn't happen in the NFL. That's an NBA thing. There's no way it doesn't happen in the NFL.
It's awful in the NBA. It's one of the reasons why I don't watch it anymore.
Luka Doncic sitting out the last game of the season when it was a winner in their end playoff game, and they sat to lose to get in the lottery.
Right. No, it's the NBA. It's a problem because you'll buy, in terms of the East Coast teams coming to the West Coast, they only come out for one game, and fans buy tickets to see Steph Curry or to see LeBron, and to have him sitting, the star sitting, because the team it either wants to rest or doesn't want to. It's a problem for the NBA.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but Yeah, and you had to mention McDaniels. I'm sailing along with my Miami bet, no problem. Teased it, but we're sailing along. And how
That's
he
brutal.
snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It just goes to show you, if you
Yeah,
try
that's brutal.
not to lose, you will always lose. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
the Dolphins
First
did on
time in
Monday. That
700
was criminal what they did on Monday.
First time in 750 games, a team blew a 14-point lead with 3 minutes left,
Yeah.
or something close
Oh,
to that.
that's
Yeah, you can make a serious case that if the Dolphins were to get eliminated early in the playoffs on the road, like I think they will, you could make a serious case that losing that game to the Titans cost them the Super Bowl, cost them
Yeah.
a trip to the Super Bowl. If
Yeah.
if they got the 1 seed, which they would have been the 1 seed if they won that game, I don't think they're going to win out, but
they still would have been in position. They would have
yeah, no, we don't know how the NFL
destiny.
works.
They
Yeah.
have the tiebreak on Baltimore right now.
No,
I think they had the tiebreak on Baltimore, but now they're behind them.
No,
Wait,
I know.
they
They would have had the tiebreak on Baltimore had they won Monday night.
yes. For whatever reason, I thought
It might have been
Ravens beat
conference
them, but yeah.
record because they would have had an AFC conference win.
It
they
is
don't have
conference
now.
record. The Dolphins would have been 7-2 in conference compared to the Ravens 6-3.
See, so now they don't have that tiebreaker anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, I just, it's about my money. And sitting there, switching over to the Packer game because I thought I was fine when they scored those 14 points, and then going, what? And switching back and having to watch that and go,
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Keep in mind, the Ravens still do play the Jags on the road, Niners on the road, and the Dolphins. So the Dolphins need to beat them.
They play each other. Oh, so
yeah, they play each other on I believe that game's on Christmas. Sorry, no, that's on New Year's Eve. Ravens Niners is on Christmas, Monday night.
Eve present.
On Christmas.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
They play each other. They still got a chance, but
yeah. But still, they were in the driver's
completely
seat.
Fucked them.
Yeah,
no, completely fucked them.
Yeah. So, but all right. Well, you just had to mention him, and that kind of was like, so
it's all right, Mark. I've lost like 15 bets because of defensive touchdowns and safeties this year.
Yeah,
it's all right.
You're never gonna let go of that safety that cost you the Oregon game, right? The Oregon State game. So yeah, I get it. So
I almost wish that like Oregon like missed like a 27-yard field goal against Washington to lose. Like I almost think that's how I wish I would have lost the Oregon stuff.
Right. No. Yeah,
but instead they just got completely outplayed after outplaying Washington the first time and losing.
And that's why they call it gambling, because if it was easy, they would call it easy, but it's not.
And you're also undefeated on bets that you almost placed.
That's right.
Oh, I never lose those.
I can't tell you how many times I haven't gotten a bet down and I've gone, oh, now it's for sure going to win. And sure enough, you log in later, whether it's over on a basketball game, whatever oh my gosh, there it was, a winner. So the one where you jump in to place it and the game's already started. So what are you going to do? Like I said, that's why they call it gambling. So anything else? Like I said, I'm ready for my prediction, but anything else? Any other tidbit?
I just want to throw out that there's been in addition to game plan, and this is obviously part of the game plan with Browning that they've done. Jake and I were talking about this the other night. It's really interesting. The line has been phenomenal, both run blocking and pass blocking. The last couple of games, they've made a conscious effort to run the ball. Mixon's looked great. Chase Brown has 2 very productive games. I'd go as far as calling it what he did on Sunday a great game.
Yes.
Some of the metrics that I don't fully understand, but people say they're good metrics, have the line playing really, really well, top third, top 10 in the last 2 weeks. And Jake made the point. The line looks and is statistically better because Browning gets the ball out quicker than Burrow. Burrow likes to hold the ball, likes to make a play. A lot of times the sacks are on Burrow, but we don't need to go down that path. The line's doing a great job, and some great numbers on Volston and everybody else. And offensive line, what they say, it's kind of like referees. If you don't know they're there, they're doing a hell of a job. And watching the games these days, you don't hear our lineman's name mentioned very often, and love to see it continue on Saturday.
In the recap, Heath ate his crow. on the coaching staff, because if you'll remember a few weeks ago, he was calling for the entire coaching staff to be fired, except for I don't remember what the linebackers coach. He had the one coach.
The one he wanted to keep was the wrong one. I forgot.
Of course it was, but they all don't need to be fired. And we told him, listen, you don't change coaches mid-season. It's a new language. You don't do it. And then he sat there and said, wow, the offensive line looks really good. I might have been premature on Pollock. And I was like, might have been. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and the defense has made major strides. It's fun watching them again. On Sunday, it was one offensive touchdown. It was a scoreless second half, and here's what's crazy. We got 4 games left?
Yeah.
4 games left. Can we win an Arrowhead? Sure. Anything can happen.
Absolutely, we can win an Arrowhead.
This team, huh?
We can absolutely. We can win
course.
No,
out.
I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this again. I already did it with dad, with my
Stop,
dad.
stop. Hear
Not
me
doing
out.
this again.
Realistically, we could go 3-1 and be a 5 seed. Obviously, we're not going to win the division because we're 3 games behind Baltimore without the tiebreaker with 4 games to play. We're not winning the division. We could absolutely be a 5 or a 6 seed at 10-7 in the playoffs. We could also lose out and have an
Absolutely. What do we say? Humility's a week away.
Crazy right now. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, humility's a week away. But we absolutely, when you look at the team sitting in the 6 and 7 seed right now, they're trending in the wrong direction. The Steelers and the Colts. So, absolutely. Even if it's not
The
us,
Colts suck. The Colts are bad.
They're terrible.
Us, Denver, and the Bills are trending in the right direction. So,
right.
2 of those 3 teams, I think, between the Bills, the Broncos, and us, 2 of those 3 teams take the 2 top spots that are currently being held by the Steelers and the Colts.
Who'd you say? Us, Bills, and Broncos?
Yes.
Broncos. It's sold their soul to the devil, and it's time to pay up. Broncos.
The Broncos are they're a Ponzi scheme, is my new term I like to say.
Jake said that to me the other night. But here's the thing. First off, sorry, Jake. I don't remember all 3 games that are on Saturday, but if we win, the Broncos lose, and the Colts lose, all very realistic. We move up to the 6th seed. Nothing on Sunday can change that. So we are very much in the playoff picture. And frankly, if we go 3-1, we're probably the 5 or the 6 seed.
Yeah, I would not mind.
Wait, do we care who loses Colts versus Steelers? Do we care who wins that?
We need the Colts to lose.
So I don't know that when you're looking down the road 4 games down, I don't think it's going to matter to us which one of those teams, because I think we beat the Steelers when we played them again, and I think that'll split the season record with them, and we already have the tiebreaker against the Colts. So
yikes.
Well,
Browning going to Hines.
Mark, you look at how jumbled the AFC is. It's very realistic that there's 3 and 4 team ties, and head-to-head is not going to matter. It's going to be conference record where we're in trouble.
Yeah, no. And that's going to be our deal is beating all the NFC teams and not beating the AFC teams.
But I'm still waiting for my NFC West champions t-shirt, Cincinnati Bengals.
There you go.
Wait, Mark, you think that we're going to go to, I guess it's not called Heinz Field anymore, but I'm going to play it like it is. You think that we're going to go to Heinz Field with Jake Browning and beat Pittsburgh and beat Mike Tomlin?
I think there's a possibility. I'm pulling for that. I don't want to lose 2 games to the Steelers. I don't want to get
Jake, who do they play this week?
Who?
The Steelers play Indy.
They play in Indy.
Okay. So if the Steelers lose, that's the Saturday night game, right?
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon.
The Steelers lose on Saturday. It's your classic case of they're folding up the tents, packing their bags,
and we're their season. We're the game they want to win.
No. That season's over if they lose.
So I just think
losing the Steelers winning is better for us to make the playoffs. But I'll be rooting for the Colts, because if we beat Minnesota and Pittsburgh, other things start to matter less. Right. I'm rooting for the Steelers to be just absolutely decimated with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback. Hell, I don't care if you get Pickett back. I don't care who's at quarterback for them. If they lose, they're folding up the tents. Their season's done, and that helps.
You guys are missing you're missing a very important team in that jumbo.
What team is that?
Future AFC champion Buffalo Bills.
So the Buffalo Bills, the man who bashed Josh Allen more than anybody.
The man who now has the Buffalo Bills at 15-1 to win the AFC.
There you go.
From 3 weeks ago.
So is that you really believe it, or that's your bet?
Are we talking gun to your head or what I think's going to happen?
So what do you think is going to happen?
I think the Bills win the AFC.
Okay.
They got to get in.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
So
sure. I know I know how it works. Like, I know they have to get in.
now I'll tell you what I think the networks want. The networks want us and the Bills. It's that simple. Those are the two teams they want to see in the postseason. Not the Colts, not the Broncos, not the Steelers.
Right.
So,
Is there any? There's no chance that like Burrow will play, right? Like he's surgery like done.
no, he's
It
done.
wasn't like minor.
He's done.
Okay,
It's
okay,
a
that's
tendon
what I
in
thought.
his wrist.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He didn't go to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
surgery,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
If it was a broken
no,
bone, he could have, that heals faster. But the tendon in his wrist, he's done till next year.
Yeah, like the Bills have like the best point differential in the NFL. Like they're so getting in. Like if the Bills get in, they're going to win the AFC.
They have to beat either Dallas or at Miami. They ain't
Well,
getting in if they go 2-2.
It's a really good thing that we're approaching Jake
Dallas is
Circus's
this week.
pick time.
Uh-oh.
I just teased Dallas. I got it like 10.
Oh, how many points you getting, Jake?
I actually don't hate the Cowboys tease pick, but I'm gonna go something different. So we had Dallas last week. Dallas is my Super Bowl champion right now. I am gonna fade them this week. I'm gonna take Buffalo -1.5 against Dallas. I hate it. Like I hate that I have to root for the Bills, but I think that they're gonna go on this run. 5-6 weeks ago, their defense was horrible. I about the McDermott stuff. It's fired him up. I don't know. Like maybe more coaches should go talk about 9/11 in the locker room. Like I don't know. It's weird. Like this is a weird season. But no, I think this team's getting locked in. They have the best player on the planet right now, Josh Allen.
We
all
talked about it being a weird season.
All you Bills fans who got mad at me when he was playing bad, now he's playing good, and I'm giving him props. Like I say on my pod every week to Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, to all the Eagles. I try to be fair, and I'm being fair because this team is playing better than anybody else in football outside of Dallas right now. Now they host them, and I think they're going to beat them. So Dallas or Buffalo -1.5 is my pick for this week.
Right. And you talk about a crazy season. I mean, look at
what we 2.5 when I send out the lines, Jake. I'm looking at the lines I send out for our fun little league.
That sucks.
We talk about a crazy season, and look at what we had last week. I mean, literally a temper tantrum by Mahomes, which can't help his rating with doing all those insurance commercials. I mean, come on. And then Andy Reid, who kind of came out and backed his player up, but then the next day took a major step back and said, he needed to be lined up on side.
Legacy is a big word to use where I'm going. Image is a better word to use.
Image. There you go.
He severely tarnished his image. I mean, his brother gives him a bad name. His wife gives him a bad name. He gets picked on because he talks like Kermit the Frog. He puts ketchup on his steak. He's a really good quarterback, but what
he's a great quarterback
was really bad. And the worst of it all was that they caught him on camera with a hot mic at the Josh Allen handshake. Josh Allen doesn't hear you.
Oh yeah, walk up there and shake his hand and congratulate him. Be a man, own it, and then go give Tony an earful. Tony cost them the first week of the season. I mean, that guy had arguably one of the worst games I've ever seen a receiver have. And then he does a total boneheaded move and was looking, well, the officials are supposed to move me back. You can look for help, but it's for you.
When you're inside, he was on the tight end. They do that when you're out wide.
Yeah. But when you're on the line, you can turn to the line judge and ask him, am I good? And he will tell you whether you are. But you have to ask. It's not his job to move you. And it was his whole foot was offsides.
Hang on, Jake wants to make fun of me for something I said 10 minutes ago.
Go ahead.
No, we don't need to talk about the rules of onside or making sure if you're offsides or onsides. But could you imagine, like, I'm trying to think about like what it would look like, but there's no chance in hell that Burrow would ever do that.
No.
There's zero chance.
Zero.
No, you're talking about a guy that gave up his suite to Jake Browning's family so they'd have to sit out in the cold.
Right.
Like, what do you think was going through Burrow's mind when they called that penalty on Logan Wilson against the Rams? Like, bogus. He didn't say a
Yeah.
word.
He
Blamed
rallied the
himself.
troops and said, "Let's go win a game. Let's go pull off a miracle."
And then he handed the ball off to Samaje Perine on 3rd and 1.
Yeah. Well,
And we were half a second away from one of the greatest Super Bowl touchdowns ever.
oh, that,
Jamar Chase.
oh, and
Because
I was
Jalen
there.
Post.
I would have been there for that. That would have been the lifetime moment.
Jake
Forgot
and I
about
still
that.
might be in Cincinnati right now, and we'd have tattoos on. I'd have one on my calf, and Jake, I don't know where he was getting his
Shoulder.
shoulder.
Shoulder. Good place. I have 6 tattoos, so it's including my favorite one is the Bengal tiger. So that's my favorite one. I love that baby. Puts a
There you
smile
go.
on my face every time I see it. So
All right,
One day.
we got to wrap up.
one day,
guys.
there we
Sorry.
go. So my Katie and I'll probably do something. I mean, we'll my daughter and I both have ink, so she'll probably join it. We'll do something to commemorate a Super Bowl win. I guarantee it. So
100%.
most likely
Predictions?
I'm going to try to be there.
Prediction.
So
I
all right,
am-
let's do our predictions. Who wants to go first?
I'll do it. I'm ready.
for it.
So for my first prediction, the Vikings have been a very cyclical team. They lost 4 of their first 5. Jefferson went out. They won 5 straight. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They lost 2 straight and then 1 Sunday, kind of. Fun fact, the Minnesota Wild scored as many points as the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday. They won 3-0 also. The Bengals defeat the Vikings 23-17. There's a late turnover by our turnover hungry linebackers, either Pratt or Logan Wilson, and the Vikings go on to lose 4 straight, miss the playoffs. By the way, they finish Lions, Packers, Lions. Bengals win 23-17. Vikings lose 4 straight and miss the playoffs.
Okay.
Late
And then
turnover
we
linebacker.
do you have us winning out as well and winning the Super Bowl?
I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'd freaking take it, man.
Could
I
you imagine?
all right,
No.
I'll go next because I actually have you and I have been like sharing a brain the last few weeks, and we do not talk about these before. So I have no idea what anybody's going to say. We try to save most of it so it's real on the show. You're hearing it for the first time. I had 23-13. So, you know,
I'll take it.
You gave a little more credit, but the Viking offense, but I have us 23-13. I think we control this game. I think it's an ugly game. I mean, it might be close at half, because we tend to have a brain fart. It tends to be in the last 2 minutes of the half. I'd like to see us go into the locker room, but I see us. That's what I got, 23-13. And I was actually rooting for a scoreless regulation on. I wanted them to miss.
Oh, absolutely.
I was going, this is the first, the first since 1940 or something that was
Right.
a 0-0. So I was rooting for that. Unfortunately, we did get the 3-0, and it just becomes one of those ugly 3-0 games. But
Yeah, it was that game. It was made my back-to-back weeks where I bet on an underdog and they pushed the spread while getting shut out. I had the Patriots +6 against the Chargers 2 weeks ago when they lost 6-0, and I had the Raiders +3 this past week. I've never. Maybe I got lucky to get both pushes because both teams got shut out, but I don't know. I feel like that's 1 in a million back-to-back weeks
While we're
pushing
on
when your
that,
team gets shut out.
what do you like?
Oh, actually, it completely is because I actually saw this angle, this trend. Teams that get shut out all time after the Raiders push, they were now 179-4. 3 wins, 179 losses, and 4. So only 7 times in NFL history, a team has either covered or pushed while getting shut out, and I had one in back-to-back weeks.
Right.
So literally like 1 in a million. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. What about the following week? Is there something that tells us that we should be Herbert's out for the year? Raiders. I mean, you got to think Antonio Pierce has been in their face all week. I'm leaning towards the Raiders in that game.
There's something. It's I think it's like teams under 50% that got shut out late in the year cover at a really high rate the next week.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a dog.
Yeah, like I said, that's just where I've been leaning. So that's all good. You're pushing me towards a Raider bet. It's a Thursday game. You got to try to grab one early if you can. Start a card, grab one early. All right, Jake, what's your final score?
I think you guys are giving a little too much respect to the Bengals offense. Maybe I'm wrong. But the Vikings blitz more than anybody. I think there's gonna be a couple times where Browning holds the ball too long on third down, gets himself sacked, loses some field position. A lot of punts. 17-13 Bengals. Think they get enough. Think they're better. They're the better team. Better coached in some regards. We'll see which Zach Taylor we get. But I like the last 2 weeks, Zach Taylor. Not so much the 12 weeks before that, but the last 2 weeks, Zach Taylor, I've liked quite fondly. So we'll see. 17-13 is my prediction, though.
See, what you're forgetting about is our defensive score from Mullen. That's what you're missing. See, that's the difference. So, and I've got, you had your dog jump in the video. I've got to Chase back here. That's there she is.
Nice.
So Burrow's probably sleeping off in the other room, but that's my 2 striped Bengal cats, and Chase had to get some screen time.
Nice. Before we go, for all the Bengals fans out there, if you haven't watched BJ Hill mic'd up, I think it popped today. I watched it this morning. It was great. I mean, they're always great, but BJ's entertaining. It was a good one.
Yeah. Also, I want to thank you for sharing the footage of Chad when he decided to go one-on-one with Ray Lewis. If you guys can
it's an
Google
all-timer.
it. Yes, yes. There's actually an interview also in the locker room that I saw where he's, basically looking at the camera going, I took on Ray and lost, man.
Yeah.
I lost. So
I thought I could hit him.
Great.
I could surprise him.
I had never heard the footage where he goes to the sidelines and they're telling him, you're not supposed to take on those big guys. I thought I could surprise him. So classic footage there. So thank you for sharing that. All right. Well, we will be back right after the game on Saturday. Remember, it's a Saturday morning game. We'll be back on right after doing our recap. Hopefully the Bengals were right on our scores here because we all have the Bengals winning. Jake, remind them where they can find your stuff one more time.
Jake Circus Podcast, Spotify and YouTube. Follow me on Twitter as well, at Jake Circus.
Awesome. And if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Hit the thumbs up. I don't mind running long because we do put the audio up on podcasts and people like listening to this in the car. I've had people, on Twitter telling me, hey, you guys should do longer shows, but that's because, they're treating it like a podcast and not a YouTube show. So, well, with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody. We'll see you Saturday.
Who day?